The Ghost of Westminster Hall. It's almost impossible to visit any stately home, pub of a certain age, or even most places in London and not be told about the ghosts which are said to inhabit it. Which is why I've always found the almost complete absence of ghost stories at Parliament slightly suspicious. This is Unseen Parliament. Stories from inside the Palace of Westminster. I'm Rich Bunn. I can never get very far into Parliament before I start being reminded of death. In fact, I can get about 10 steps into Westminster Hall before I start to scuff against the brass plaques laid into the flagstones. The first one that normally catches my eye says, "In this hall, Sir Thomas More, Lord Chancellor of England, Speaker of the House of Commons, was condemned to death, 1st of July, 1535. Up the steps, and I'm into St. Stephen's Chapel, or as it used to be, the Royal Chapel. This is where you would be laid in repose if you died on the estate, and we know at least one queen, Queen Anne, the wife of Richard III, who laid there for 10 days. If I've kept walking and not stopped to dwell on any of these things, I'm already in Central Lobby, and now I can choose to go left into the House of Commons or right into the House of Lords. But I'm searching for poltergeists, so it really makes no difference. Inside the House of Commons itself is the members' lobby, and that's the site of the only successful assassination of a British Prime Minister. Spencer Perceval was shot and died there face down on the floor in 1812. But if I'd gone right, I'd have been where Guy Fawkes was discovered, captured in the basement of the House of Lords in 1606, with a lantern and 34 barrels of gunpowder. Just a side note in case you're confused, although he was found in a basement, that basement is now on the ground floor, as the House of Lords has been pretty extensively remodelled since the time of Guy. Guy was taken away and tortured in the Tower of London, but he was brought back twice to Parliament, firstly for his trial in Westminster Hall, and then again for his gruesome punishment, which was to be dragged by horse into Old Palace Yard, just outside, and there hanged, drawn and quartered. Old Palace Yard, by the way, is now a car park mostly used by the House of Lords, but once upon a time it was used for quite a lot of high-profile execution, particularly in the time of James. Sir Walter Raleigh was decapitated there, after which his wife wrapped the head in her cloak and apparently took it home and displayed it in a glass case for 20 years. So here's the really strange part. All the people I've just mentioned are associated with ghost sightings. But not at Parliament. Guy Fawkes is said to appear occasionally in York, near where he was born. Spencer Perceval has been seen several times at 10 Downing Street and is said to appear specifically in times of national crisis. And Sir Walter Raleigh is identified with the famous headless ghost at the Tower of London, wandering the grounds in Elizabethan attire. I think 10 Downing Street has at least 3 official ghosts. Whitehall and St. James have ghosts. Queen Anne's Gate nearby has a statue that's said to come alive once a year, and Westminster Abbey has loads and loads of poltergeists. I come back to the question, why no apparitions? And I have heard a theory, but it's even darker, stranger, and more twisted than the idea of visiting spectres. It's the theory that Parliament may have something keeping them away. A fetch is a supernatural being with the ability to double as living people. It's not a very well-known creature in British mythology, but it's there. You see, there have been at least 3 recorded manifestations of the living at the palace. One was in 1899. A lady called Mrs. Millman was seen hanging around the restaurant. Nobody thought anything strange about it until it was discovered that she wasn't in. A few years later, there's a story attributed to an MP called Henry Campbell Bannerman that says he saw a friend sitting in the chamber and had that sighting confirmed by a colleague, even though they both knew that that particular friend was seriously ill at home. And most recently, 2024 in fact, there was a clerk's assistant called Joanne who said that she had seen a reflection either of herself or an unknown similar grey-haired lady. Joanne, however, is a particularly special case because she also represents the only reported sighting of a ghost in the Palace of Westminster, at least that I could find on record. She claimed that not only did she see the unknown grey lady, but she had also felt the nuzzling of a phantom dog, and later heard some ghost woofs. So perhaps there is no fetch. Or if there is, it's just a spectral game being played by the ghost dog of Westminster Hall. Thanks so much for listening through to the end. I'm Rich Bunn, and if you've enjoyed this podcast, please think about subscribing or sharing with a friend. They're published every Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts. Goodbye.